going missing in the future, as well as just youth as a whole. So we're going to get started momentarily. I will say that afterwards, so you know, we know it's a lovely Canadian January day, so it means it's cold outside, but we have some hot corn soup downstairs. So before you leave, we have corn soup and, of course, the food that we saw downstairs earlier on during our networking, our fellowshipping. And again, so pleased to have you here this evening. We are going to start this evening first with a opening prayer. So at this time, would you please welcome Pastor Judith James. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters. Our dignitaries are at the back, but to our Deputy Mayor, Amber Morley, and our Member of Parliament for York Centre, the Honourable Minister Yaria Sachs, I want to welcome each and every one of you to Revivaltime Tabernacle. This is an historic church in our community, being the first church to be built by a Black Jamaican man and his congregation in 129 years in Ontario, and the second in all of Canada. That was to my father, the late and great Reverend Dr. Audley Neville James. So on behalf of the leadership here, Dr. Andrew James, and co-pastor Bridget James and myself, we want to welcome you. This is a crucial time in our community when numerous youth, and specifically Black boys, have gone missing. There has been a great concern that when this happens, our boys' faces are not the subject of mainstream media. There is a great concern as to why they are missing, how they have gone missing, and where have our boys found refuge. It has left our community wondering and worried. In the 1960s through to the late 1990s, there was a commercial ad that we often saw on television. I think I may have just aged myself. But it was a public service announcement that chimed during the late night news. Does anybody remember what it said?
Do you know where your children are?
That's right. The target audience was for parents, and the question was asked, do you know where your children are? The concern is, and this is something that I'm concerned about, I have a 24-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter. And it's even that when your children are at home, do you know where they are? Psychologically? Do you know where they are emotionally? Do you know where they are spiritually? They could be sitting right beside you on their phones and being bullied and contemplating suicide. Do you know where your children are? I was speaking to Dr. Alvin Curling today, who was an elder in our community. He was a former speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Ontario. And these were the sentiments that he shared. He said, do you know where your children are? They are our collective responsibility. Can I hear an amen from the church? Amen. So as we delve into this crucial conversation tonight, let us assume the responsibility of being our brother's keeper. I want to let you know that the church is here to serve you, to serve your families, to serve the Missing Boys campaign. Thank you so much, Shauna McCullough, for the work that you're doing. Until our children are found, settled in their mind, body, and spirit. So thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for your presence, and thank you for lending your voice and showing us your care and concern. If you'd be so kind to bow your heads and close your eyes as we pray. Father, we want to thank you for your love and your grace this evening. And God, as our hearts are wounded and our hearts are wondering what is going on, God, we have come to a sanctuary, a place where we can find hope and renewed faith. So God, I just pray that you'll be with us this evening, grant clarity of thought and precision of speech as everyone shares their hearts. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Judith. And now we're going to invite a young lady to sing our national anthem.
sacred love in all our sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land, oh glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
And ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Grace. Ooh, amazing, beautiful. As we get this evening rolling, we just want to take a moment out to thank our sponsors. Obviously, the sanctuary, the building has been open for us at no cost, so we're very appreciative to the Revivaltime Tabernacle. Round of applause to you. Thank you. As well, the cuisine, the food downstairs, we have to, and we'll talk a little more about it later on, but it's, is it Marcus Garvey's grandson? Yes, Marcus Garvey's grandson did the corn soup, so I can't wait to try that out. And of course, Sister Michelle on the catering side, so thanks. No cost, free. So we thank you so much for your support. Enercare helped as well cover many of the expenses with respect to this evening, and they also wanted me to share that they have a program that they work with various school boards to help cultivate the trades, and so training kids, doing co-ops to create, of course, that skill set that would allow them to pursue a career in the trades. And I think one of the byproducts is here. I know he was in the co-op program, and now he is actually hired by Enercare, and I heard he's making lots of money. I don't know if Terrell Best Phillips is here, but there's a couple of students that went through the program, and of course the trade's a fantastic way to earn a living. The Caribbean Canadian Cultural Arts and Professional Development Foundation, using the arts as an outlet, so thank you for your support. The Black Empowerment, or the Brampton Black Empowerment Unit, of course, we're not in Brampton, but they've been very instrumental in helping us and supporting us in this very important initiative. Inga Educates, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Air Patrol North, and so on and so on. My name is Kiri Lee Crawford. I will be the moderator for this evening. Thank you so much for having me, and of course allowing me to hang out with you guys. And so that being said, Pastor Judith did highlight many of the special guests that we do have here, and I'll let you know just a little bit of housekeeping really quickly. If you dropped it, pick it up, right? We want to make sure we leave the sanctuary, the building, in the same way that we found it, right? And so we appreciate their support, and we want to make sure that we're very, of course, conscious of how they treat, I guess their property or what have you. As well, we would suggest that, so you know, everyone who wishes to speak, there will be 2 separate opportunities where we will open the floor up and provide an opportunity for questions to be asked. And so we have several presentations this evening. We will do essentially 1 or 2 presentations, open it up for some questions to the panelists, invite another group of panelists, 2 or 3 to present, opening up the floor again bring the final panelists to close the evening, open up the floor again, and then, of course, make our way back downstairs for those who still may be a little hungry or want to take something home with them. And so anyone that wishes to share a sentiment, an idea, a concern, you will certainly have the opportunity to do so. We ask you that you do it, of course, be mindful and respectful in the manner that you do. And ultimately, we are all here, you would hope, for the same reason, and that's for the cultivation of a happy, healthy, and of course, productive, vibrant neighborhood, healthy kids, and of course, just the overall ambition that we have to live in the country, in the town, the cities that we all know and that we love. Okay, so with that being said, I will introduce the of course, producer of the series of events. That's Miss Shanna McCullough. She'll be speaking in just a little bit of time, and just want to confirm that we have the Deputy Mayor of the beautiful city known as Toronto, Amber Morley, a Canadian politician who has represented Ward 3, Etobicoke Lakeshore, on Toronto City Council since 2022. She now serves as the Deputy Mayor of Toronto. Please welcome Miss Amber Morley.
Thank you so much for having me. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you. And I'm grateful for you all holding space for us to come together for a really important conversation. As was mentioned, my name is Amber Morley. I'm a city councilor in Etobicoke Lakeshore, and I'm also a deputy mayor in the city of Toronto representing Etobicoke. I'm very proud to be the first woman of African descent to hold this position. Thank you. And I ran for office largely because as a young woman growing up, low income in a single family household in the city of Toronto, it was hurtful and disheartening to me to see the continued perpetuation, the legacies that we have all inherited, and the disproportionate impacts that there are specifically on Black and racialized communities. And the only way we make a difference is by standing up, getting involved, and rolling up our sleeves. So that was what has really motivated me to be the change, as corny as it sounds, that I wish to see in the world, and I'm proud to stand before you today doing exactly that work. I'd like to thank Pastor Judith and Revivaltime Tabernacle for making space and bringing us together tonight, and to each of you for making time for this critical, difficult, and important discussion. I also would like to bring remarks on behalf of our mayor, Olivia Chow, who sends her regards and continues to be very intentional about her work together in empowering Torontonians and communities like ours. I'm joining you this evening to listen, to hear your concerns, your frustrations, and your hopes. I want to understand what opportunities there are for us to work together, and in my role as a city councilor, I'm also a very proud member of the Toronto Police Services Board, and joined by colleagues here tonight who will be speaking with you and sharing information on this important topic. I'm also very excited to be stepping into a new role as the chair of Confronting Anti-Black Racism Committee at the City of Toronto, and some of my colleagues from that work are here tonight as well. Thank you again for welcoming me into this space and sharing your time with me and us here this evening, and for your input on engagement on this. How we support each other and address disparities in our communities really does matter. Let's keep talking, let's keep meeting, and let's keep co-creating a better path forward for ourselves and our young people. Thank you all so much, and looking forward to the discussion.
Deputy Mayor of Toronto, Amber Morley, ladies and gentlemen. Now next to bring greetings, Member of Parliament for York Centre. She's also the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions and the Associate Minister of Health. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause for the Member Minister, Yara Sachs.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Amber Morley, for opening us up in a good way. And I'll just take a moment to say this place has been home to me since first arriving to Canada as a teenager. The first time I ever, as a Jewish woman, stepped into a church was in this space. always a place full of healing, wisdom, and also growth. Thank you for bringing us together. We stand here on the traditional territory of many nations. It's important to acknowledge that. My acknowledgements aren't simply rote, certainly not for me. They're an opportunity to pause, take presence of why we are truly coming together, why we gather. We gather to heal. We gather to create safe space. We gather to protect one another. And as Indigenous peoples always say, we want to build 7 generations forward. What we do today matters for our children. We're here about our children. We're here about our boys. So acknowledging the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and Wendat peoples, and then Métis, Inuit, and First Nations whose feet have walked this land, who protect and care for this space for us, generation after generation. They show us the way for healing. I'm so grateful to be here with all of you, because I'm here to listen. As the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, this past summer we gathered with Generation Chosen and YACE and many community organizations for the Black community to talk about our young people. Because when a young person goes missing, that's not the start of their story. If they have gone missing and they choose to leave from whatever space they are in where they no longer feel safe, or they've made choices or are taken, it is because what happened to them before that matters. And the resources and supports and tools that we as a federal government need to provide, working with all levels, including Deputy Mayor Roy. We have lots to talk about. We talked this summer with Minister Ian about what a Black justice strategy needs to look like in this country, so that we are making sure that we are meeting our young people where they're at, providing resources and community that are led by them, designed for them, and meeting them where they are not in crisis, but before us. That's the work that we have committed to do, because we know there are still too many barriers, not enough resources, not enough people, support folks, peers, safe persons who look like our young people from the Black community, who understand their story, who see them, hear them, but truly listen and provide the support and mentorship that they need. Because, frankly, one youth missing is one too many. It's just one too many. And the friends and communities that come together to protect our young people, it is that village of amazingly loving, compassionate members of our community that we are committed to working with. And we have it in Pastor Judith James. You are such an ally for what makes this community matter. You are. You lead with love, you lead with compassion, you lead with making sure that this house and every place that you go in this community is open to all, and for that I'm truly grateful. So tonight I want to thank Toronto Police Services for being here. I want to thank YACE, Generation Chosen, and so many others who are here to make sure that we are protecting our young boys, our young men, but also the young people of our community, so that they have what they need to feel safe, so that we aren't talking about missing persons, we aren't talking about missing young people, that we are talking about making sure that we don't go missing in the first place. So thank you all. I'm here to listen with all of you tonight, and really thank you for gathering us together.
Minister Yura Sachs, ladies and gentlemen. As we get our first panel started, we wanted to take a moment just to acknowledge they will be bringing a message in just a little bit, but we have members of the Toronto Police Services present this evening. The Black Liaison Officer from the CPEU unit, Curtis Celestine. School Liaison Officer PC Megan McCrory, Homicide and Missing Persons Unit Inspector Todd Luminanis, Detective Shauna Patterson, from the Care Unit in Human Trafficking, Sergeant Richard Shaw, Engagement 416 Gang Exit Unit PC Martin Douglas. And I know we had a few people that I actually met earlier from the Missing Persons Unit, and I don't know, I'm so sorry I didn't get your guys' card, but you're gonna share, you're gonna come up a little later on, okay? Like Kiri, do your homework. Yes, I got you next time. As we keep this evening rolling, I wanted to first invite for the first panel, Vidal Regisford. Vidal, yes, come on up, sir. As well, Ainsworth Morgan. Ainsworth from the TDSB. And we will start with Ms. McCullough. Make sure your mic is hot. And,
Hello.
and we will roll it. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. I have something prepared to say tonight. So a lot of times I speak from the heart. I'm speaking from the heart tonight, but I just didn't want to forget anything, so I wrote some things down. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for gathering here tonight to address an issue that weighs heavily on our hearts and minds, the disappearance of our boys. I stand before you as an advocate, a voice for the voiceless, and a representative of the thousands of families who feel unheard, unseen, and unsupported. I like to begin by reading a statement from one of our remaining missing boys' families. I am here as a parent, as a voice for our son Aiden, as a representative of other families who are also dealing with this nightmare, the disappearance of a child. Aiden is our son, our brother, a cousin, a grandson, a creative and loving young boy with a bright future. Aiden grew up in a middle-class household surrounded by a family that was active in his life. Aiden's mother and I dedicated ourselves to ensuring our children have a strong foundation. Our daughter works for the city as a professional. Aiden's older brother is in his first year of college. Aiden loves organized sports, making music, and talked about a future where his creativity would shine as a music producer. He was a happy boy, raised with love, care, and structure. We are protective parents, some would even say overprotective. Taking our kids to school, attending games, family outings, and participating in activities. Yet, one day, Aiden went to play basketball as he often did, and he didn't come home. 4 months later, he was found in a trap house raided by police, surrounded by multiple adults. How does a 14-year-old boy with no ID, no money, and no means of transportation be found 2 hours north of his home with adults? It is heartbreaking enough to experience the trauma of not knowing where your child is, but it is infuriating to hear the dismissive narrative being pushed by some city officials. Statements like those made by Andre Fullerton, a representative from Brampton, claim that because these youth are not being physically abducted from their homes, it alleviates stress. These comments are not only irresponsible, but dangerous. They devalue our children and tell traffickers that our youth are not a priority. Words matter. Traffickers are listening. And they take an action as permission to continue harming our children. I am sure you do great work unrelated to this issue, but your dangerous comment regarding this issue is not welcome in our community. We were cautious parents, yet Aiden was still vulnerable. There are adult individuals out there that use manipulation, intimidation, and threats to lure and trap our youth. These are not isolated cases. They are part of a broader system of exploitation. Yet, when we reported Aiden missing initially before he was found in the trap house, we were met with what felt like lack of concern. A Durham officer told us plainly that missing youth are not a priority because there are a lot of cases of missing youth and they usually come back. The excuses from authorities have remained the same: apologies for what we are going through as a family, and an insistence that they are doing everything they can. But checking social media accounts and phone records from 10 months ago is not enough. There were no hits 10 months ago on his social media accounts and phone records throughout this entire ordeal. Why not try a different approach that shows urgency? Aiden also has a serious nut allergy. He does not have his EpiPen or his health card. A single mistake could cost him his life. Yet city officials and authorities tell us this isn't serious enough for urgent action. We have seen the power of coordinated efforts in other cases. When an elderly person goes missing or someone with mental health challenges goes missing, their faces are on TV and in the news immediately. Why? Because these individuals are rightfully deemed at risk and vulnerable. Why is it that when our youth, especially our Black boys, go missing, they are treated as criminals instead of victims? When young girls in other communities are sex trafficked, the response is urgent, as it should be. But when young Black boys are missing, we hear comments like, "Stress is alleviated." The double standard is unacceptable. We want our son back home, and we will work on providing him counseling, as we are sure being missing for 11 months has had an impact on him. We are deeply grateful for the support from the community and Shayna, who has been bringing this bigger issue to light, as of all our Black youth matter. We plead to the honorable mayors, MPs, authorities, community, and activists who care about our community, please do more to bring my son home. This movement, Find Ontario's Missing Boys, was sparked not by politics or headlines, but by the pain and resilience of families who refuse to let their sons become forgotten names. Their stories are not isolated. They are threads in a systemic fabric of negligence, bias, and dismissal. Each boy missing represents a family torn apart, a community left questioning, and a society feeling its most vulnerable. These boys are not statistics. They are not runaways or troubled youth. They are our sons, our brothers, our friends, our potential heroes. They have omnipotent potential to become who they are meant to be. They are Aiden, a bright young man who loved music and dreamed of becoming a producer. They are sons that have been coerced into circumstances, dangerously manipulated and discarded by systems that should have protected them. Our children are the bright light of our community and should be treated as such. Let us also acknowledge that we would not be standing here today if it weren't for the efforts of our community, the power of social media. It is because of you, the families, the advocates, the neighbors, that these stories were amplified and heard. It is because of the shares, the petitions, and the outcry from our community that this movement gained momentum. And let us not forget the high-profile figures like Shaka Khan, Teddy Riley, Viola Davis, and the list goes on, who stood in solidarity and used their platforms to demand justice for our boys, as well as Emma as well. You're here as well. This proves that we've always known what we've always known. When the community stands together, we are unstoppable. As we hear more accounts from families, it becomes glaringly clear that this issue is intertwined with systemic racism, neglect, and the dehumanization of Black and Indigenous youth. When young Black boys go missing, their cases are too often dismissed. Authorities claim they'll come back. As their safety, their lives are disposable. Compare this to the urgency and resources mobilized for others: Amber Alerts, media coverage, and coordinated searches. The double standard is unacceptable. I want to emphasize that this is not about pointing fingers or assigning blame to any single entity. We are here to collaborate, to bring together families, community members, and authorities to create meaningful solutions. Law enforcement and policymakers play a vital role in this fight, and we need their full participation and partnership to ensure these boys are brought home safely. This is about working together, not against one another, to protect our youth and strengthen our community. I'd like to see the coordinated effort to recover the countless other boys and girls who are missing across the province. When did we become so desensitized to the plight of Black youth that their disappearance no longer spark outrage? Traffickers and predators exploit these gaps in urgency, knowing the system will not prioritize these children. This negligence emboldens them. It tells them that these boys are fair game. But let me be clear, these boys are not fair game. They are our future, they are our leaders, and we are here tonight to demand justice, accountability, and change. To the families who have shared their pain, know this: your voice matters, your sons matter. We will not stop fighting until every missing boy is found, until every trafficker is held accountable, and until every system that allowed this to happen is dismantled and rebuilt. To our elected officials, law enforcement, and policymakers, we need immediate action. No excuses. No more data or bureaucracy. Mobilize resources, issue press releases and updates to the public, conduct proper and thorough investigations, and most importantly, treat these boys with the humanity and dignity they deserve. A system that locks up children instead of perpetrators is fundamentally flawed. It is our responsibility to demand better. Our boys deserve to live, to dream, to thrive without fear. And as long as one family still searches for their child, this fight is not over. The time for silence is over. The time for action is now. Let us stand united, not just in grief, but in resolve. Together we will find our boys, and we will ensure no other family endures this pain. My call to action: I urge you to sign my petition, share their stories, contact your local MPs, attend the additional town halls, and hold those in power accountable. Let this be a movement, not a moment. Stay vigilant, stay passionate, stay united. Thank you.
Shauna McCullough. Shauna McCullough, everyone. We're also, excuse me, 2, 1, 2. Mickey? Is it? There we go. We're also going to invite to join this panel. We have youth representation. We'll invite DeAndre Small and perhaps his dad. You could come up as well and take a seat on the panel, sir. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. We certainly want to hear what you have to say, and we want to ensure that your voice is heard. Our next panelist is Ainsworth Morgan. Ainsworth Morgan is a superintendent of education for the TDSB. He describes himself as a creative, innovative, and impactful educational leader with over 20 years' experience in both the education and criminal justice system. Ladies and gentlemen, Ainsworth Morgan.
Good evening, everyone. So in my day job, yes, I am a superintendent of education, but more importantly, my role in community is where my passion lies. Also a co-founder of an organization called 100 Strong with Justice Donald McLeod, and we work with Black youth, intermediate age, 13 to 16 years old, in terms of supporting them in character education, rite of passage, understanding of self, and the importance of education to launch their true potential. Why I'm here tonight, Pastor Judith told me I needed to be, so I said I can never say no to her. And I just want to acknowledge her and thank her for always standing up for community. She's a true inspiration and a champion for our community, and I just want to acknowledge her efforts. Thank you. I think there's many opportunities to learn tonight. I think the most important voices will come from the young people, and I'm very happy to see there's a number of young people in the audience. I urge every adult in this space to wrap your arms around our youth. They need that. There are crises, there are challenges that they face on a daily basis. Social media is a big challenge. The officers here will speak to that. But we as community, we need to love our own. And I mean, not just the ones within our immediate care, but in the broader community. So tonight is an opportunity for that reminder. And I want to be able to give enough opportunity to young people in the space to share their stories and also hold us accountable. We as adults often don't listen enough to the young people in our care, and I think it's an opportunity for us to allow their voice to be heard. So I'm hoping we're able to hear that this evening. So thank you.
Our next presenter is Vidal Regisford. He is a certified corporate and clinical counselor consulting individuals in the private and public sector, as well as individuals in their workplaces in need of post-trauma counseling. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vidal Regisford.
Testing. Good evening, everyone. This is an important conversation for our community, and many of us who've been around for many years doing this kind of work would see this as a tipping point. I don't think we have certainly in the last 40 or so years of doing this work, we've had this kind of aberration where our young men are going missing, and missing in a way that we don't know where they are. So I'd like to make a few preparatory kind of comments. This cannot be a conversation where we are alienating one another. It cannot be. All voices have to coexist, and coexist in a way that's constructive to the one objective, and that is to finding these boys. So that's the first thing that I'd like to state. The second comment I'd like to make is, rarely do I say this, but this is one moment where facts and feelings also coexist. Typically, I separate them, but the facts around this, as well as the feelings that people are experiencing in the community, coexist, and coexist in a significant way. There are three things that I come to, and I'll share briefly with you from my contemplation around this as a licensed psychotherapist. I don't think we can have this conversation without talking honestly about the home and what's going on within the home. We have to be prepared to have this conversation as a community. That's one. The second thing is, as we talk about that, think about the influences of culture, and culture specifically in the community and in schools, where these boys and our children spend much of their time. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say the other conversation we have to have is that about masculinity, male masculinity, and what that means in our community. Have we had enough conversation around how we support boys going through the various life stages as they develop, the challenges that they experience? So those are 2 or 3 things that I'd like to start off with. When we think about where we need to go, and again, I want to acknowledge, like everyone else here, that we share in the concern and grieving the absence of those boys from their families. I think when I think about this, I think about a couple of things that we should be talking about. One is, how do we as a community begin to talk about those protective factors for our boys and our girls who have not yet gone missing? What are we doing? Are we having enough conversations around that? So what do we do to insulate them? Do we have enough knowledge about their friends, their schools, their peers? Are we thinking about systems of check-ins and codes that they can communicate to us if something is going wrong? How do we as a community collectively create that kind of mapping for black boys and for black girls in our community that we begin to proliferate? So while I'm here talking about those boys who are missing, I'm also deeply concerned about those who might be suspect to going missing in the next day, 2 days, or a week or so, and I don't want to leave that off the table. So those are kind of my introductory remarks. Thank you, Pastor Judith, for inviting me. I'm glad to see the officials here. And while I respect that the officials are here and there's a larger systemic issue that they need to deal with, including the police, I really think that this is a community that needs to design the roadmap and the path forward for how this gets addressed and communicate to them how we want this addressed. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Mr. Vidal Regisford. And when the discussions were had about what we wanted this evening to look like, it was unanimous that to hear from the youth themselves was a very, very important component and consideration. And so certainly for professionals and adults, it's not easy to be up here talking on the microphone in front of so many people. And so we are so very, very, very appreciative of this young man, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. DeAndre Small.
My name is DeAndre Small. Go to Cedar Brook Collegiate High School. I'm a grade 10 student. Like one of the biggest challenges as a young migrant community is not everybody looks at you the same.
I asked him, when he feels that way, the coping mechanisms. How do you navigate inside that space? And a lot of times the youth will have these challenges and these emotions and not know how to address them. They know that they're feeling, a certain way, or sometimes they don't even necessarily understand what they're feeling. And so just the importance of sometimes just being there as a open ear and a support. And I know as parents, you're there, but it's not always easy to connect. And that's one of the most challenging aspects, is that I love you and we're here to do whatever we need to do to support and to demonstrate how much we love you. But sometimes even the kids, the youth themselves, don't know how to articulate. All right, thank you so much for sharing. So the idea here, thank you so much, DeAndre. Not easy to do. Sometimes we all feel like we don't belong. Sometimes it's hard to feel and to fit in. And so that being said, that is the conclusion of our first panel. Let's have a round of applause for all the participants. Thank you so much. We will open up, if actually, one moment, guys. Do we have any questions for the panel members before we let them go? We have 4 or 5 minutes for question and answer. If you do have a question, just raise your hand. And if you do, all right. If you could come forward right here, please, and thank you. Oh, yes. Mickey. Yeah, so we ask that if you do have a question, please come down to stage right, and we'd certainly love to hear from you. If you have any questions for the panel before we let them go. Yes, I thought I saw somebody put your hand. Is that you want to stay back there? Is it? I thought I saw somebody. Oh, right here is. Maybe I imagined the hand go up.
Hi, LP McKnight. I just wanted to. Oh, sorry about that. I can see what the young man is feeling. Okay. Could I ask the dad, how is he coping? How is he with his young son?
Well, it's been hard, I just recently got him into my care, right after a long ride of everything else, and it's amazing that he's here with me right now, and to see him growing up and facing the struggles of what young kids go through. It's been my opportunity now to jump up and put him in the right direction and help him be there. You know what I mean? It's what I want to do. It's what I'm fighting to do, been wanting to do. And now I have time, and it's a good young boy, but he needs a lot of direction, and I'm here for him. And I'm glad that everybody else is here. Thank you all, because it gives me the hope now to fight more for him, because I can see, I don't want him to be out there as on this list of young boys going missing and all these things here, right? He doesn't have a reason to do it, because he should know he has a backbone. Even though he's born with one, I'm still here, right? Yeah.
Greetings. My question is for the father and the son. Given that we're in a community element, we're in a church, we have a lot of folks here having this discussion. I want to know what the father and the son needs from all of us, because given that, we're in a collective setting, we can't just have these conversations without actually engaging in community mutual aid. So if there's anything you need, father and son, we have a whole community, we have a city. Please tell us what we need, and maybe Pastor Judith James, you can take down some of the contacts of folks who want to help out the father and the son. Maybe send your email so we can send e-transfer so that we can provide you with resources, essentially whatever you need.
That's well respected. Thank you, everybody. What do you need, son? What is it you would like to see, son? Like me, myself, in the community, I want to start doing my own little resources of helping the youths around me, right? I've seen everybody go through the struggles, and there's a lot of kids I know. I just basically came out of a shelter system, after a year and 6 months, and it was a hard ride, right? But I went through it, did it, and now we just got a house, and we're just starting again, right? We just started over again, and especially with him now in my presence, I just want to see him that he has no hope of saying that he has to go to the streets when he knows that he has a home, right? To have a house, a roof, is what my father said to me is the main thing. No matter what, before anything, is to make sure you have your roof and to protect the ones you love, right? So, yeah, the resources is just to make ourselves comfortable. You know what I mean? Just to be able to have a bed to lay on and all this stuff without squatting all together as a, family does it, but now you have your space and it's better, right? You know what I mean? It helps. It helps. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Morgan, and I don't know if it's a common question for the superintendent, TDSB as a representative. I'm just wondering, we all know, and it was like what you had mentioned, there's enough data, there's enough research, that teachers are pretty much where it's at. So I feel as though we need to do more with regards to equipping our teachers with the tools and strategies to really make a difference. We keep saying it, it's written everywhere beautifully, we're saying it on all these, everywhere I go, I'm like, hearing DEI, belonging, equity, I hear it, but I'm not seeing it. And I just feel as though it's almost like we know something is happening and we're driving right into it. And I'm just trying to figure out what it is as a school board, as a province, what can we finally do? When I heard you here, Miss, you're from the mental health, there's a lot happening. And we have an opportunity to do what we can do for our young people in school. Many of them are in school more than anywhere else. And that is where we need to focus. And I just feel like we just need to focus more on schools and on giving our teachers more tools and strategies for them to do better for the students that they're working with.
Okay, we have time for one more question, and then we're going to move on to the next part of the presentation. Thank you. Last question. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Herbert. My question is for the superintendent. In our schools right now, we see a lot of DEI conversations like the lady previously just said. But my question is, how are teachers actually enacting restorative justice? When we're in schools where, and I also work in education as well, but as a black male, there are so few of us, and now you become the voice for the many black and brown students, and you're always working against rather than with administration. What are the active plans that the TDSB and other, whether Durham or Peel region, has put together? Have you guys come together? And how are we going to actually rectify? Because systemic issues are held by the people at the front of the room as well. And if our boys and girls are always seen, or often, I should say, often seen as problematic rather than seen as children going through problems, how are we going to restore them?
Thank you very much for that question. One of our pillars within our board is the well-being aspect, and having every child having a caring adult that they can turn to in times of challenge. With that said, care is not something you can mandate, right? So we do our best to ensure that we're putting qualified, caring people in front of the students. I would love to hear from this young man within his space if there is someone in his building that he can go to in times of challenge or need. That's an important piece. The work between school and community has to be done better, absolutely. There has to be that relationship between home and school. Quite often, students, children share things with school that they may not necessarily feel comfortable, confident sharing at home. And it's important that we have the understanding of what the responsibilities are as educators. So making sure there's opportunities for students to get involved in co-curricular activities, where there's clubs or teams or initiatives, leadership in terms of school council, providing opportunities for students to engage. And And when those students that we recognize may not necessarily be on the right track, what are we doing to interrupt some of those challenges? So we do have our different social workers, our child and youth workers within our schools. We can always have more. That's a funding piece, and it becomes a challenge when we don't necessarily have enough of the resources that we need for our students. And someone made mention to this, that it also needs to be very culturally responsive to the students' needs. Not every person is going to be able to connect with every student. But I also want to be very clear that just because someone does not necessarily look like you doesn't mean that they cannot have a loving and caring relationship with you. So we do our best to ensure that we are putting qualified, caring adults in front of our students. And when there's challenges, that they know where there are places that they can go, people they can turn to. And we want to make sure that communication is getting back to the home and providing the proper resources.
Thank you.
If I can, just 1 second, I'm going to run here. I'm going to see what Ainsworth Kent's here, and he's a friend of mine. Unless we talk about reform, we're not going to make a difference. We've been doing this work with the school boards for many years, and it's just maybe 2-3 years ago, the minister came out and actually talked about de-streaming. Well, that's been a conversation that's been going on for a long time. I think we need to really look at education and reform that if we're going to be serious about it, in addition to what Ainsworth is saying. It needs to be reformed. It's about 80 or 90 years old. The system has not changed. Where do we have a system where teachers do not get a performance evaluation for 5 years? 5 years. So the in-class product doesn't get evaluated by the end user. I get a performance appraisal by my clients. They tell me you suck or you're good. The minister, the public tells you. But we don't have that in education. So I'm sorry. I just need to put something out there. This is time for us to talk some truth, so let's not have the conversation.
Carrie, can I say one thing quickly? Really quickly, I swear.
Sorry.
We have so much that we want to get through.
I just want this young man to respond.
Yeah, please, yeah. Would it help you if your teacher came up to... All right, is this young man's teacher here? If he could come up, sure. Yeah.
So I asked him if he had a caring adult, someone in his school that he can turn to, and he smiled and said, "She's right here." So.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Trisha Morrison. I'm your child and youth worker at Cedar Brae Collegiate. Yes. I chose DeAndre particularly. I think there was a little bit of a maybe miscommunication with the questions being asked of him. So he did come a little bit prepared. I know that he was nervous, but this young brother was the first person that came to mind. Recently lost his mother, so I know that he's going through a lot. Dad, as he said, recently just got back into his life, so he's going through a lot. So he's definitely on my radar. I am your safe, caring adult in the building. I have a lot of students on my roster. My office is forever revolving. You cannot get me through the day because I'm here having these youths back 100%. And it is a day-to-day battle. Teachers don't always see the same way as youth workers through our same lens. But once I'm in the building, it's a different story. So he knows that, and I got him. So I just want you guys to know that there are good educators out there. And I'm very, very proud of you, DeAndre. Thank you for coming.
All right. Yes. All right. Let's wrap that because we want to keep it going. Thank you so much. Another round of applause for all our panelists. Shauna will be back. Ainsworth Morgan, of course. Shauna McCullough, Vidal Regisford, and DeAndre Small. At this time, we're going to invite And again, you have to forgive the pronunciation, that we've got Black Liaison Officer Curtis Celestine. If you would please make your way to the podium, sir. Homicide and Missing Persons Unit, the representative speaking on behalf of the Homicide and Missing Persons Unit is that Inspector Ted Lumanes. Detective Shona Patterson, please, as well. Please make yourself comfortable. Hi. Sergeant Richard Shaw, if you were speaking, addressing tonight, we'd certainly like to acknowledge you, sir. And we have lots of chairs, so there you go. Sergeant Richard Shaw from the CARE Unit, Human Trafficking, we definitely want to hear from you, sir. And Engagement 416, the Gang Exit Unit, PC Martin Douglas. And then we have someone from the Missing Persons. Is it Missing Persons? Yes, if you could please. Yeah, because I know you had a sentiment to share. So Missing Persons really very relevant with the topic of conversation. We want to take just a moment out to remind you that there is free food when you leave, right? There is corn soup downstairs and a host of other things, a veggie platter, fruit platter, coffee, tea, and everything downstairs before you leave. So please, we appreciate your support. We appreciate you taking the time to spend this evening with us to discuss this very important topic. Again, my name is Kiri Lee Crawford, author of my new book coming out, Weapons of Mass Deception and Accidental Intentions, in stores this March. So, of course, very, very happy to be here with you this evening. Just a quick check. Do we have any, outside of the teacher, she gave me an idea, any other educators in the building this evening? If you're an educator, please, could you put your hands up so we can acknowledge you? Taking time out, being here, thank you. The educators, thank you, we see you. Other organizations, community organizations, you run programs in your community, you help, you support the youth. You know what? We want to make sure everybody is exchanging business cards, all right? We want to know who you are. We want to know how we can support, what we can do, and what you're seeing on the ground, right? We need each other. And again, we need to thank City TV. City TV did reach out, and they've been very supportive. So City TV, thank you. Of course, Brandon Gomez Show, thank you so much for your support. I don't know, anybody from the media here? I know Toronto Star is here, the media, if you could, please, we appreciate you. We do this together. So without further ado, we're going to keep this evening rolling. I'm going to start with, from the Black Liaison Office, Mr. Curtis Celestine. What we want to do is use the one microphone, guys, because apparently we can hear well here, but online they're having some trouble with the audio. So please, we'll use the one microphone, even though the other mics are working. It's not as audible online. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. I'm Curtis Celestine, the Black Liaison Officer for Toronto Police. So I'll explain a little bit about my mandate, which is to basically bridge the gap, to help bridge the gap between TPS and our Black community. In doing so, I love collaboration with different organizations, so I help support any initiative organizations have, and I create some of my own initiatives, such as mainly, I like to focus on youth. So there's a couple of initiatives that I do in particular that focuses on youth, and this is what the topic is heavily about. And it's trying to do more preventative measures. One is a job fair that we introduced to, and because of my title, Black Liaison Officer, my focus is on the Black community. So I love it. I'm a Black male, father, uncle, coach, mentor, and that's my main focus. So I'm proud to say that. Another initiative I do is, again, introducing our youth to skills trades, giving them options, right? And another one is a mentorship program I'm working on. But the main thing that I want to get through here right now is the opportunity to let you know that we want to work together. In order to fix whatever issues we have with missing youth, it's preventative measures, and we can't do any preventative measures unless we work collectively together. And the fact that the Black community has come out for such a good cause, it shows us that we have lot of work that we can work towards, right? So again, looking forward. I had an opportunity to meet a couple of individuals before in the basement before we came up here. If you haven't met me, my goal is to reach out and make as much contact moving forward. So if you haven't met me, please, after this, search me out. I'll give you a card. We're looking forward to building partnerships and working together to help solve our issues. Okay? Thank you.
Yeah, I think we'll go. I know I never got your card or your name, so I want of course, the officer from the Missing Persons Unit, if you just introduce yourself and speak a little bit about your what you do and, of course, how we can support you in your endeavors.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dufferin. I work in the Missing Persons Unit. I'm a civilian investigator, so the official title is coordinator, and I've been in the role for just short of 2 years. We work in an office mixed with police officers and civilians, which is kind of new. So we're figuring it out as we go. One of the things that is specific to the coordinator role is creating community contacts and re-engaging with the community in the best way that we can. And we work with a great team of people, and we care deeply about what's going on. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you. And now we will we'll hear from Homicide and Missing Persons Unit Inspector. And then again, you're going to pronounce it properly for me, Ted, but Lumanis? Yes, all right, there it is.
Good evening, everyone. A little loud. Pastor Judith, she is not here. I really, really wanted to thank her for the invite and having us here today. To the moderator, Carrie, as well, thank you. I started my career in 31 Division. I worked there for 10 years. Like, I call that home still. Believe it or not, I work downtown now. On my way home, I drive through the community every day. I still get calls from community members in that neighborhood. I still have that connection. I'm down now at the Homicide Unit. I run the unit. With that unit, we have the Missing Persons subunit as well. I want to thank you all for attending here today. This is so important to me personally, but as an organization from the Toronto Police, we have to come together. And I'm going to tell you, I've always said this through my career in uniform, in my plainclothes world, and up into this level now. It's all about consistent communication. It's not communication when things happen after the fact. We need to be present all the time in that collaboration with the community and the police. 100%, I truly believe that. I'm going to tell you right now, you will have the support from the Toronto Police 1,000% on that. I'm going to introduce you to Detective Shona Patterson. She's our subject matter expert when it comes to missing persons investigation. And I'm going to play up a little bit of our unit here. We are the best in Canada as far as I'm concerned. A little bit of background on how the structure of the missing persons unit is structured. We have 2 detectives, we have 8 detective constables, we have civilian staff as well, 4, and we have an analyst. We work 24/7. We have an afternoon shift, we have a day shift, and our mandate is to support the divisions across the city. So when there is a missing person occurrence or investigation that commences, Detective Shona Patterson and her team are on it right at the get-go. And we will do everything and anything to make sure that young person or any person that goes missing, that we don't leave any stone unturned. In saying that, I will introduce you to Detective Shona Patterson. She will provide you an overview of, again, this is Toronto Police. We work for the city of Toronto. We work for you, the people of the city. I don't know if some of you may have been part of the, a couple of weeks ago, we were part of Peel Regional's forum on this. So the presentation, again, I apologize if you were on that one. It may be similar with a few different numbers and stats, But again, I apologize for those who have seen it. For those who have not, I think this will give you some type of understanding, a better understanding of what we do in the Missing Persons Unit.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Shona. I'm really grateful to be here, and especially just to listen to all the vulnerable conversations that we're having tonight, to be present for you sharing your stories, for mothers writing in and sharing their deepest concerns. I hope that we can move forward and continue that conversation, and I hope that some of the information that I share tonight may also help see what we have to tackle as well, all together. So if we can start the presentation, I don't have control over it.
Yeah, he's going.
We're good?
He was just coming down to say that the mic wasn't working, so he was on his way down.
Poor guy, he's doing everything
to say, hey, could you give her mic? But I read your mind. Actually, Pastor Judith told me. But, so here he comes. He was just coming to say the mic.
While we're waiting for the presentation, I'm really happy that Afrin's up here on this panel because she is a civilian investigator. That's something brand new that nobody has in North America. We've actually added 4 civilian investigators to our team, and they're phenomenal. And they are there to provide support to the detective constables and the units, of course, but they're also out there in the communities trying to create those contacts. Right now, we currently have about 300 community contacts that we work with on a daily basis that assist us in locating our missing persons. And that's all of our missing persons, which is about 5,500 every single year in the city of Toronto. We have about 10,000 calls for service just in Toronto that are related to missing persons. And you're going to see some of our stats tonight, and I truly believe not only is it an amazing team that we work with, and more training that's been provided to the divisions on how we respond and how we react to missing persons, but it's the community contacts that work with us every single day that allow us our stats to be so strong. So if we can go to the first slide there. Up there is the definition of a missing person. This is what's actually defined by the Missing Persons Act, a piece of legislation that's very powerful that came into power about 5 years ago. Prior to the Missing Persons Act, we as investigators would have to go to companies and different places and basically beg them, can you please give us records on this? Can you give it based on humanitarian efforts? And now we actually have an act that supports us to actually gain access to records at a very, very quick pace as well. So essentially what this summarizes to say is, if there's someone that you are concerned about, that you care about, and you have not heard from them, and there's any kind of concern, whether it's safety or otherwise, call us. That is a missing person, and we will actively investigate it immediately. Next slide, please. So we're here obviously to speak specifically about youths, and specifically Black male youths today. So in general, we always say that, and what we've learned as well through our investigations, is that someone is either running away from something or they're running to something. And what is that something? When we're identifying what that something is, that is very impactful, and that is what typically locates that person. The secondary issue is the community issue too, and that's why we're here, to have those conversations and hopefully prevent them from ever becoming missing persons in the first place. Next slide, please. So to give an idea, this was in response to what we saw on social media, because there was a lot of fear. And I think if I was a parent in the same situation with someone that was missing in my family, I'd be very impacted by what I saw on social media, and the fear was absolutely through the roof. So the stats that we're going to share are from our 2024 stats. So if we can go to the next one. This shows a breakdown in our city, and this is specifically Toronto-centric stats. So overall, we had 437 occurrences in relation to missing youths in the city of Toronto for 2024. So you'll see there is a high number of missing Black youths that are reported. So there was 230 occurrences. You'll also make note that there's, out of those 437 occurrences, that's made up by 328 youths. So now we realize that obviously there's people that are going missing more than just once throughout the year. If you can go to the next slide, please. So we broke this stat down even further. So out of the 328 missing youths that went missing in 2024. At the conclusion of the year, there was 7 missing youths still that we were actively searching for. Next slide. Out of those 7 youths, 4 of them were male black. Next slide, please. There's another look at the total number of missing male black youths that were reported to Toronto Police in 2024. If we can just go back to that one slide there. This represents, yes, a high number of black youths that have been reported, but it also represents a 98.3% solve rate. I want to take a moment and just express that every single time we get a report for a missing person, we treat that with the highest amount of urgency, regardless of who they are and what we're looking at. The reason why we work 24/7 is to offer support in high-risk situations. Our missing black male youths, or youths in general, there are a lot of risks involved. And those risks are sometimes unknown at that time, which creates fear. It creates fear and obviously, I can't even put into words how the family and the loved ones feel during that ambiguous time. But what we do as investigators is we create that urgency and we appropriately assess the risk that's involved and we respond to that risk. If we can go to the next slide. We also wanted to pull stats as of today. Currently today, we have 7 missing youths in Toronto that we're searching for. So this, you can see the breakdown there. We currently have 3 male black youths that are missing that we're searching for. If we can go to the next slide. Part of our unit was supported by our chief because there was a missing and missed report that came out in 2021 that was very impactful to the Toronto Police. Justice Epstein made 151 recommendations that the chief undertook and promised that we will implement every single one of them. Part of that was the growth of our units and how we set up and respond and deploy to all missing person calls. We've also updated our risk assessment forms and our procedures. This is very impactful to us, and I feel like why we have such great stats now, because we collaborated with community members. Every step of the way, we had community members weigh in with their personal lived experiences and if we were making the right decisions at the right time. We also spoke about obviously doubling in size, and we've been very grateful that Victim Services, which is a confidential support system, has been embedded within our unit. So they're briefed along the way with the kind of investigations we're having, and they are there to support the families, the loved ones during that time that they're missing, but also to the actual missing person when they return. If you can go to the next slide. Another thing that is a very big change in practice is about 2 years ago, we changed the way we do our news releases. Our news releases are always going to be found on the CorpCom website of Toronto Police Service. But one thing, what I also noticed that Aiden's mom had said is that we're tired of being treated like criminals. That's devastating, and it's very impactful and stigmatizing. So what we did about 2 years ago is we changed the way we actually put out our releases. We wanted nothing to do with the red, white, and blue of every single news release. So what you're going to normally see is somebody that's wanted for homicide, wanted for sexual assault, and then you're going to see a missing person. Why is that fair? Because we're trying to challenge not only the internal bias that we have, but also to the community bias. We want people to see that missing person bulletin and they want to share it and they want to actively become involved in that. And they're not thinking that they've done something wrong. This is not a criminal investigation. A missing person has done nothing wrong, but they've disappeared, and we're trying to find them and make sure that they are okay. Our unit's mandate covers any kind of high-risk investigation, but our motto is to find that person as quickly as possible in the best possible condition. So when we put out these news releases, we put them out on our TPS websites, and we share them on our social media. But the one thing that I also heard from Aiden's mom, and from some of you here tonight as well, is why are we not seeing them on television? Why are we not creating that awareness for everybody to know? And sometimes what I think, I recognize Emma. Thank you, Emma, for putting out your video, because that created a really big conversation within us. So it's contexts like this, community events like this, that we can create those bridge those alliances and say, why are we waiting for CP24 and the mainstream news to put it out? Why don't we contact Emma and say, hey, here's a bulletin to put out? Her platform is 1.8 million followers, which is very impressive. And I don't know if CP24 has that kind of following. So let's do it a different way. And that truly is what represents our unit, is let's do things in a different way. We have a very experienced group of people in our office. I spoke at the Brampton meeting and explained that not only are they very, very experienced at their jobs, and they've been everywhere that you can possibly think of in the service, so they're very well aware of picking up different kinds of risks that maybe somebody very new to the job may not have that experience yet, but they also come with a varied, vast, deep life experience. And that comes from a civilian perspective as well, which I think is really, really important. So I cannot stress enough that our procedures are based on community input, people that actually had true lived experience as missing persons or families that experienced it as well. And that's what our procedures and our processes represent now. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to speak to them. Up there, we have our contact information too and our social medias. But we're always open for a discussion. When I speak about our community contacts, a lot of them don't want to advertise the fact that they work with Toronto Police, and we completely respect that. We have no problem with that. If you come to us and say, hey, I want to be a contact, I want to help, maybe you just have a great social media platform and you offer, I'll put out your bulletins, not a problem. If there's something in this category that you want me to put out, contact me. We don't have to advertise that we work with you, but we would love the assistance. The more eyes that can get on this person when they're missing, the faster that we can locate them and bring them home. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna Patterson. The care unit, or from the care unit and human trafficking, Sergeant Richard Shaw.
Good evening, thank you. I come here tonight with a confession, and the confession is this. When Curtis called me yesterday and said, hey, can you come and join us for this town hall? I said, sure, what do I have to do? And he said, well, just stand up there and answer questions. Never in that advertisement did he indicate that I'd be standing here with a microphone in my hand, which I am currently. And I also come with a confession that I'm proud to represent the Toronto Police in the Human Trafficking Unit and the care unit within the Human Trafficking Unit, but I have no magic answers for you. I have no magic answers that are going to make this a perfect meeting. But I can tell you this, and I thought about how I could blend my discussion into the talk about missing youth. And I certainly could go through what our protocols are in the Human Trafficking Unit with missing youth. And some of those protocols include our direct relationship with Detective Patterson and her unit, the review of every missing person report by myself every week, and trying to determine what potential chance there might be that that youth will be vulnerable to being trafficked. We also analyze what the vulnerabilities are of youth in regards to trafficking. The sad reality is so do the traffickers. And part of them being missing is a vulnerability. If the youth isn't home, it only makes sense that they're going to be more vulnerable just by the state of them not being in the safety and sanctuary of their house. Logical, right? So how do we work together to alleviate that? The way that I think that we can work together is I'm encouraged in this capacity that I've spoken at a number of different town halls very similar to this, and also in the previous capacity that I worked. And I'm always encouraged, and I'm encouraged by the strength of the room and the unity of the room. I'm encouraged by people's willing participation to come here, by people who want to come here voluntarily and participate in an event like this. That encourages me, because the reality is you're the eyes and ears for us in your community. I can come to your community and be there, but you are truly the ones who are there. You are the ones who are present. And then I'm also not so pompous to assume that people are going to come to me directly. If there are issues with human trafficking within your community that you suspect that we, through our protocols, have not identified, that's when you go to your community leaders. You go to your community leaders who are in this room, who you know, Pastor, who are community leaders who then will work collaboratively with us. And if it's only through that collaboration that we'll be able to like to tell you that it's not a problem in Toronto, and I'd like to tell you that it's not present in Toronto, but I respect everybody in the room enough not to lie to them. So I'm not going to do that. Does it affect your community? It probably does. And this is where we need to work together, because all of the eyes in here make up more than the eyes that are up here on the panel. And if we work collaboratively together, and if we build on the strength that I feel in this room, and the collaboration that I feel in this room, I think that that is a great way that we can start, at least, to try to build bridges, and that we can cement the way that we can work together to keep our kids safe. Because in my opinion, there's no more time that we need to work together to keep our kids safe. Post-COVID, our children have gone through more than other children have gone through in previous generations, and I think that it's the most important thing that we can do. And I can tell you my name. My name is Richard Shaw. If you just think of the ride rickshaw, it's very easy. And I have one pride in my life beside my children, is that I answer every single email. And that if you want to contact somebody from the Human Trafficking Unit, and if you have concerns, it's richard.shaw@torontopolice.on.ca. It's very simple. Or you can look up the Human Trafficking Unit, and we have a website that shows our actual email as well. And if you have concerns, if you have questions, because I'm always cognizant that it's very challenging to ask questions potentially in a public setting, but if you have questions that you want me to answer, please email me and I will make sure that I respond. I'm so greatly appreciative that you've invited me here. I'm so appreciative that I'm able to represent the Human Trafficking Unit. And if you have questions about some of our protocols or questions about how we work, please don't hesitate to ask me. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. And the last presenter for this panel from the Engage 416, the Engage unit, not the engagement, what was I thinking? The Engage unit 416, gang prevention unit. A round of applause, PC Martin Douglas.
I'll be quick. I was told I have 3 minutes. My name is Martin Douglas. I've been an officer now for going on 26 years. I've worked in all different capacities. I currently operate out of the Guns and Gangs unit. Our actual official office name is the Integrated Gang Prevention Task Force. We go by the moniker Engage 416. I have 2 colleagues that have our pamphlets that I think we'll try to hand out before we leave. Our task and our mission is to work with communities and approach the issue of gang prevention through a multi-sectoral approach where we offer education, prevention, and intervention. We do this through community outreach, youth outreach programs. I just came from another community meeting in the Humbermead neighborhood in 31 Division. I'm responsible for 31 Division communities. I do have 2 other colleagues that are correspondingly responsible for 23 Division and 12 Division. So we operate right now within the northwest quadrant of the city. With God's blessing, we may expand, hopefully soon, citywide, but it doesn't stop us from doing things like this. We're in 32 Division right now, moving into other communities, having or participating in events like this, or providing presentations to your community groups as well. Part of our presentations, when invited into school settings, we have a presentation called Choices and Consequences, where we talk to youth about their decisions, where they can go, and how they can mitigate the risk associated to what they're seeing and how they're experiencing their communities. Parents, you live in neighborhoods, your children experience the neighborhood completely different than you do. They navigate the city completely different than you do. You have to be more aware of that and the pitfalls that they face. The sort of enchantment, no matter what your words and how strong your words are, the enchantment out there to get involved in situations that aren't things that they grew up with, not the lessons that you've taught them. So how do we make your voice the strongest voice in their head when they meet that fork in the road? We talk about that, and we try to encourage you through education to identify certain things that you may be seeing with your youth and how they could, how you could identify those risk factors that you're seeing, how maybe the teachers can do the same. We do that for the purpose of mitigating our gang impacted or at-risk youth in our neighborhoods. I'm just gonna have our pamphlet go out. If you wanna reach me, my number is the 808-2585 number. And again, it's Martin Douglas. We should have the pamphlets moving around shortly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we want to be mindful of your time. We really do appreciate your support and your presence here this evening. We want to remind you that for those who reside outside of the GTA, I know some people came in to support from different regions around the GTA. So in Durham, we are in Durham on January 30th. We are in Brampton at City Hall on January 23rd, City Hall next week, the 23rd. We want to remind you that before you leave this evening, that there is free food, and again, courtesy of Intercare Home Services, your home heating needs. We want to make sure that we support those who support us, right? So just to be mindful of those who did support. We want to thank, of course, all the members of Toronto, the Toronto Police Services, those who are on the panel and those who are in the audience. We also want to make sure that we thank all of our presenters this evening. A very, very special, I'll tell you something really quickly. Shauna called me and told me and expressed just sentiments that were wrenching, and some of the things she communicated were things that were communicated to her by the families. As a media personality, I was like, we used to do these town halls all the time. What do? We have to get back to connecting with our community. Prayed about it and called Pastor Judith. And let me tell you that Pastor Judith, she did not pause, she did not hesitate. She was like, all right, Kiri, you need to do. And she just raffled it off. She had the vision, and we love you and appreciate you and everything you do so much, connecting people. These types of conversations are the most important kind. Of course, they say that conversation, what do we say then? Conversation, of course, brings clarity. That's what Pastor Judith said. See, I was listening, you see that, right? And so this dialogue is essential. We appreciate every person's participation here. This is not the end. This is the very, very beginning, right? That we know that Rome wasn't built in a night. We know that it will take some toils, some challenges. Challenge brings change. Change brings opportunity. We have a very unique opportunity to continue shaping the community that we live and we love. And of course, there's no other way to do it but together. Again, my name is Kiri Lee Crawford, books out in March. Weapons of Mass Deception and Accidental Intentions. I'm going to give the final word to Shayna, and then I'm going to invite Pastor Judith to close in prayer, okay?
Thank you, everyone. It was brought to my attention. I didn't say my name initially, so that's my passion for you. I'm Shayna McCullough, and my platform is Roots Reggae Hub. That's ROOTSREGGAEHUB, and that's the platform that I did release the missing boys information to, and that's the platform that brought us here together, as well as all the influencers that actually shared what I had created and made it go viral. So that's it's a community. I want to thank all of you, because without you sharing, it would have never gone this far, and we wouldn't be here today as a community organizing and uniting in these efforts with everyone here. Thank you so much for everyone being here. I have some final remarks. I'll make it quick. Firstly, I do want to say quickly to all the educators that are in the room that put their hands up, the teachers, the educators, thank you so much. I had teachers reaching out to me from Alberta when they saw the Missing Boys reel that went out and went viral, that they want resources, that they need information, that they wanted to tune into our Zoom tonight. Shout out to you guys if you're watching this Zoom. Shout out to the teacher that contacted me that helped to locate one of the missing boys. It was her tip that brought one of the boys home. So shout out to you guys. My closing remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, as we bring tonight's town hall to a close, I want to express my deepest gratitude to everyone here, to the media, to the police forces, to the MPs, to the educators. Thank you for finally amplifying these stories that have been ignored for far too long. To the community, your compassion, strength, and unwavering support have made tonight possible. And to everyone that's in attendance, law enforcement, I think I said that, government officials, thank you for demonstrating your commitment to addressing this crisis. It really means a lot. Together, we've taken an important step toward aligning our voices and efforts to bringing the remaining boys home and ensuring the families impacted receive the resources and action they so urgently need. On November 13, 2024, I launched a foundation. At that time, I didn't know I would be ushered in as a voice for change. I would like to take a moment to share the mission of my non-for-profit organization, Dial Arts Foundation, which was originally created to empower underserved, underrepresented Canadian artists by providing educational resources, mentorships, programs, and opportunities across the visual arts, media arts, music, and technological sectors. Our work focuses on supporting communities, particularly Black, Indigenous, and people of color, through non-commercial arts-based initiatives that promote inclusivity and cultural engagement. In light of the recent crisis, I'm compelled to expand this vision. I want to create programs specifically aimed at young men like the boys we are fighting for tonight. These programs will offer paid, hands-on training and valuable skills across these sectors, but meaningful opportunities for growth, stability, and hope. It is imperative that we tackle the socioeconomic barriers that make these boys vulnerable, and by offering employment and skill-building opportunities, we can help pave a better path forward. I must also speak to the heartbreak that continues to weigh heavily on my heart tonight, as we still have missing boys that are out there. It is a profound injustice that in our society, the media can prioritize stories about missing dogs over the lives of our missing children. This reality is a stark reminder of the work that remains to dismantle the biases and inequities that persist. Tonight, however, is a powerful testament to the strength of our unity. This event reminds us that when we stand together, we are not just voices crying out, we are a force for change. As we reflect on the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose birthday was celebrated yesterday, I am reminded of his words. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Dr. King's movement of love, peace, and unity is a testament to the resolve that we must all carry forward in this fight. It is his legacy that reminds us that justice is not an option, it is a necessity. Our boys are the light that will guide us forward, and their safe return will illuminate the path to justice and change. I would also like to take this opportunity to shine a light on the case of Al Pacino McNaught, a young man, the rugby player who was included in my original petition to find Ontario missing boys, whose disappearance and death have left many unanswered questions. While authorities state there is no foul play suspected, the circumstances surrounding his disappearance have led his mother to believe otherwise. Al Pacino's mother, Mashonda, is now faced with the unimaginable task of bringing her son's body home. To support her in this effort, we have created a GoFundMe campaign called Find Your Way Home. I urge everyone here to donate if you can, and to help amplify her story by sharing it. Go to Roots Reggae Hub on Instagram, and you'll see the petition there, or the GoFundMe, I should say, campaign there, as well as the petition for tonight's boys. This is about justice and closure for a mother who has suffered an unspeakable loss. As we leave here tonight, let's carry this momentum forward. Let's remain vigilant, continue raising awareness, and hold each other accountable to this mission. Together we are stronger. Together we will bring these boys home. Thank you all for standing with us tonight and for standing with these families.
All right, so we're going to close, and before we do, we just want to quickly acknowledge Sergeant Michael Butt from 32 Division. I heard Michael is here. And as well, David Mitchell, who is very supportive from the onset. So David, I know he said, I'm going to play the background today, I'm going to relax, but we appreciate your support, and you're here, and we stand with you, sir. We're going to invite, hey, listen, sponsors, there's free food downstairs, all right? So please do not leave empty-handed tonight. Grab some food. It is complimentary, courtesy of the International Women's Achievement Awards, Enercare. There are some pamphlets outside, and all our other sponsors. Thank you so much for your support. We pray you get home safely, and have a good night.
Let me know.
So we're going to ask questions. We're just going to close in prayer just for the online viewers. Is that okay? Okay, thank you so much for understanding. I want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you for your time, your questions, your input. Thank you so much for your bravery. I think it was just important to share just a few stages of reconciliation and how we can move forward. And so I just pray that you'll give me just 1 minute of your time. Number one, if we can hear the heart of those who have suffered. I think that's very important. Acknowledge the harm to the community. Engage with the data as it's been being presented. Meet with the stakeholders and the community to map out solutions to the problem. Come back to the community with recommendations and execute. We want to make sure that we leave here with knowledge, with power to move forward. All right? Let us pray. Father, we want to thank you for the time that we've taken to come to a place of understanding, care, and compassion. God, as we leave this place tonight, we think of the mothers and the fathers, the brothers and the sisters of the families who are missing their loved ones. God, I pray that you would be their comfort, that you would be their strength. God, that you would grant us wisdom as we stand in the gap to be a helping hand. God, I pray that you would equip the church to continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with our communities as we forge forward. Continue to give grace to all of us, we pray. Cover us as we leave this place and as we travel home. In Jesus' name, amen.
Now, we have had some technical difficulties where, unfortunately, this is the only mic that can be heard. So do we have time for a couple questions? What's the sentiment? Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much. They've been here since 6 o'clock tonight and here. And so, you know what we'll do is we will have a couple questions. If you could make your way here to stage left. And what I'll do is I'll give you guys my mic, and we will take it from there. Please identify yourself in asking the question. Please identify yourself, your name, and if it's an organization you represent, to then, of course, identify that organization so we can understand who we're hearing from and, of course, what we're dialoguing about.
My name is Clayton. I'm the father of Aiden, who's been missing for 10 months. I hear a lot of the conversation about stats, right? We say we care about the community, right? We talk about the Brendan Gomez show. We hear statements about if kids are not abducted from their homes, you know what? It alleviates stress. Try talking to one of us parents that are missing our children, right? My son has been missing for 10 months. It took 4 months to put a missing person. A missing person, one of the posts on social media, the Durham police, not the Toronto District School Board. But since it's been posted, right, they've been checking his social media accounts from 10 months ago, his phone records from 10 months ago. There were no hits 10 months ago, there were no hits 6 months ago, there were no hits 3 months ago. So what do we do next? Right, my son, like I mentioned in the letter, my son has an allergy. If he eats any type of nut, he's dead. Why are we always pointing things to the community? Like we said there, the community is a community issue. Mr. Richard, I haven't heard you talk about the people. If we talk to experts, people out there that work in the field, people that work with these kids and understand there are people luring our kids. What are we doing about that? I haven't heard one word from any one of you regarding, the people that are luring our kids. Right? All we're talking about is stats. That's great, yes, we bring home a lot of our kids, but there's still kids missing. What are we doing about that? What are we doing about the issues of actual individuals luring our children? Right? To state is very, it's what we bring up our children with values. It's sad and it's disappointing when, the authorities, city officials are saying, it's the parents' problem. We're not talking to our kids properly, right? We're not doing the right things. It's all about the parents, right? With the situation with my child, right? My child was found in Aurelia with adults. You think a 14-year-old is just going to pick up with no money, no ID, and walk to Aurelia? Right? When we talk about the children, right? The children that are, there's 14, 15, 16-year-old kids with the car thefts, right? There's a lot of things going on, right? Sex trafficking with young girls. Do you think these individuals want to go out and do those things? They're being pressured to do those things for whatever reasons, right? It's up to the kids or it's up to the parents to do the research, right? What answers do you have for us? Instead of just pushing it all in the community and saying, well, it's a community issue. Thank you. Right? Something has to be done. Right? When I talk about the TV, yes, my son's missing for 10 months. Right? We try the same old thing of checking their accounts and checking their phones. Right? Isn't it? So, an elderly person, right? Very rightly so. If someone's missing as an elderly person, you see it on the TV. You see it in the news. Right? How come for a missing youth, we do not have that shown on TV? Youth are important. Our black youth are important. So yes, thank God for Shayna, right, to be able to bring this to light to the black community. Right? Or else, you know what? My wife, my family, friends, the other families, right? We're hurting. We feel like we have no other direction to go.
Yes.
Right? So please, please, do more. Right? I understand within the communities, yes, we need to work on what we're doing for each other, for our kids. Yes. But we also have kids that are missing. Right? When we are, these conversations, the Andre Fullerton, right, stating that, it alleviates stress. What do you think we're telling the people that are luring our children? Right? When we say, oh, wow, we're doing a great job, we have these great stats, what are these people that are luring our children looking at? That's fine. The authorities aren't concerned. The city's not concerned. They're saying it alleviates stress. It's not a big issue. It is an issue. And it's actually putting our kids in more harm. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Clayton.
Yes, my name is Ricardo, and my son was reported missing. And due to the fact he was reported missing, nothing was being done about it. I left the country on October the 21st. My son left the morning to go to school with his knapsack. I went away, we were supposed to go away for 2 weeks, we ended up staying 1 week because my son was missing. We contacted the Brampton police. They said that to us, they can't do nothing about it until they hear any more information. What my concern is that why does it take that long to get a response from the police? They said to us they only got one ping off my son's cell phone, a tower in Barrow. One phone call we got from the police through the whole time, this whole ordeal. And the second call we got from them, you know what they told us? Ma'am, sir, if we locate your son, we can't do nothing about it. The only thing we can do is ask him to come home, but we can't force him. We can't, there's no warrant for his arrest, but we can't force him to come home because he's 16. So my concern is, because my son is 16, that doesn't mean that he doesn't matter. He's still an adolescent. He's not an adult. Right? Lo and behold, 3 days later, I'm not a racist, but I see a little white girl on TV being reported missing. I see a person that's 26 being reported missing. I see an elderly person who's 43 being reported missing. But what about my son? What about my son?
Yes.
What feeling does that leave us? That we're not getting no response. We try to report it to the media. They don't do nothing about it. They brush it under the rug. But sure enough, lo and behold, I see another little white girl being reported missing. And I'm sitting back at home, I'm saying, wait a second. What happened to my son? What happened to the report that I made? He doesn't count? Does he not matter? Or is it because he's black? Is it another statistic? Or is he just being pushed under the rug as a reason for not acknowledging the situation?
We definitely like to talk to you afterward because we're in Brampton next week. So if we could, your name again, sir?
Ricardo.
Thank you. That's very tough for you to come and share. We appreciate, sir, you sharing that with us. And so we'll speak with you because we're in Brampton next week, okay?
Officers, do you have any numbers of how many children are missing right now? Let's say in the Toronto area. Do you have any numbers as to how many are missing?
Can everyone hear me right now? So I don't need a mic.
Okay, I got you.
So we currently, today, before we came here, and we searched between the 12 and 17-year-old male youths. That's what we came to speak about today, so that's what I can speak to. We have 7 missing youths that are male, that are ages between 12 and 17, that we're actively searching for right now. 3 of those 7 are male black. In regards, Ricardo, I can speak to you a little bit further afterwards about the Child and Youth Services Act. There is apprehension warrant for normally children that fall between under 14, but they've actually extended it recently between 15 and 16 too in exceptional circumstances. So I can speak to you a little bit more about that as well.
All right, so thank you. We want to make sure we have time. I'm so sorry with this because of timing. We have maybe time for 3 more questions. After that, we can have discussion off camera, but we do have to clear the sanctuary. So 3 more questions, please, and thank you. And then we will, downstairs there is free food, and we will continue some discussion. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Cindy. I'm here today because this story was very heartbreaking for me. I have 3 young boys, and it hit home, and I wouldn't be anywhere else than here tonight. So I thank you guys for putting this together. In particular, Shauna, I want to just say that your post is what brought any information to light for me. I had no clue about this. I want to say within this week, maybe there was some talk, but I mean, I'm hearing parents, this has been going on for some time now, and it's just news now, so that's shocking and concerning. My question is in regards to Amber Alerts, and you know, we've done a great job with getting that, using technology to communicate with the community and providing information when an Amber Alert generates, but we're in 2025, we have apps for all kinds of things, we're being sent texts for promos, sales, and whatnot. I don't understand how we're not coming up with a better way to connect with the community as far as sending a simple message out, picture of a child. I mean, anything can happen within seconds, just like when you turn away and a toddler falls. The same goes with our missing children. If they're out there and we get a message and we see the child, there's so much more, you know, that we can do in that moment if we're informed. And I just feel like with our police, you know, I do appreciate all the work they do, but I think there also needs to be some pressure, since there's respect for the police, for them to also put the pressure on the media to say, we don't want to hear about how to buy a house, how to save on insurance on CP24 for an hour. I want to hear about what's going on in the community, what we're doing to bring these kids home, and how we can avoid our children from being in this situation. So that's just my concern. I think 2025, we need to come up with a better app where we're being able to communicate and understand what's going on in our community with their families.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Just with regards to that, if anyone is interested, there is an app, and we work with them. They are a partner of Toronto Police. It's the Missing Children Society of Canada. they do offer an app, and you can actually geofence the area that you live in or that you're interested in. So anytime that there is a missing child or a vulnerable person that goes missing, they publish their information right away. So you'll be notified. If you keep your notifications on with that app, you'll be notified immediately of a missing child.
And so this will be the last question for the evening. After that, we will adjourn downstairs. So this will be the last question. I thank you guys for coming out, and thank you for your patience, but just a lot going on, and we certainly went over time a little bit. So this will be the last question for the evening as a part of the formal proceedings, but please feel free off camera to continue the discussion and to share and exchange your information. Everyone in this room right now, in the sanctuary right now, is here for one express purpose, and we need to know each other. We need to continue the dialogue, not just when we come together here, but every single day that we walk and we live in the communities that we do. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lady Sharon. I do the Wellness Wednesdays on Roots Reggae Hub. And one of the things that I'm concerned about is just even hearing these numbers and stats based on what is being called into the radio station versus what you, the Toronto Police is reaming off as a stats. I know as a mother who's raised 3 children, my last child, I was so concerned about them. And when I called and said that they were missing, and I was met at my door, pushed out of my home, and intimidated and treated like a criminal versus them looking for my daughter. So I had no trust in any of the police. I had no trust. So I lived years, yes, my kids have all graduated college, but with the last child, I lived years of wondering those days when she might have been missing for days or weeks, where she was, but knowing that I had no service from the police, knowing that they would treat me like I'm the criminal, that if she did show up dead, maybe I might get in trouble. So these are things, how you guys are approaching the families who are coming to you to serve and protect. What do these investigations really look like? We're not getting service. All these statements that are being made, it's not about Black Lives Matter. We should know that already. But these are the matters of our lives. And you got to take an advantage of our socioeconomical issues that we may or may not have at home, that once our children might be on the road or on the street, we can't even call you.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. And again, obviously a very sensitive subject, and I just want to take this time to, again, express our deepest sentiments to those families affected, those friends, the community. I think on that note, thank you for sharing. I think we will wrap up the formal part of this evening. I would suggest, of course, please do take some food. This is not the last one. This is not the end. This is the very beginning. We are hoping to have and host many town halls in different parts of the city and across the GTA for this very same reason. So we can get to the crux, so we can get to the sentiment, and we can, of course, mitigate the circumstances that we are all now hearing about today. So it's part of the discussion, part of the process. We thank you. Get home safe. We love you. And we will see you, if you are available, of course, next week, the 23rd at Brampton City Hall. Good night. Get home safely. Thank you. There is free food downstairs. Thank you to all our panelists. Thank you to all our sponsors, the Caribbean Canadian Cultural Arts and Professional Development Foundation, Revivaltime Tabernacle, Air Patrol North, INGA Educates, Road Safety Doesn't Happen by Accident, the International Women's Achievement Awards, the Sing Toronto Vocal Arts Music Festival. Thank you so much for your support. Anacare Home Services, air quality. If you're concerned about air quality, and of course, viral transmission, and please check out Air Patrol is in the foyer right now, and a compare. They are there. We want to thank, of course, each and every one of you. There's free food downstairs, so please take something home with you. Please take something home with you. Of course. And I mean, take it and, yeah, you can fellowship for